Andor, Episode 4. Fuck me running backwards up the stairs like Christmas on the 4th of July in my favorite Halloween costume, but this show is a cinematic orgasm in television streaming series sheep's clothing. In case you missed my point, Jesus, Harold, Christ, this show is good. Really good. So smartly written and so perfectly paced that I can't even keep up with cataloging the things I'm enjoying about it. And those are words which, in that order, are anathema to me when speaking about Disney's Star Wars. Cassian Andor is on an unavoidable trajectory towards an end that we already know. And yet I'm constantly on the edge of my seat, wondering where this adventure will take him next, and whose lives will be ended in the offing. We rejoin Andor and Luthor Rael, having narrowly escaped the Imperial forces on Ferrix. Luthor makes a proposition to him to join his crew in taking down the Empire. Wouldn't you rather give it all at once for something real? That something real is stealing the Imperial payroll for the entire quadrant. Next we sit in on a strategy session with upper echelon Imperial overseers. There's some really great character development here as the various regional overseers each elucidate their own agendas and are thusly judged by Imperial Chief Hein. Andor and Luthor land on planet Adani, and Luthor meets with the leader of his ragtag band of rebels, Vel, who is none too pleased to have an outsider joining their tightly knit group. Back to the Imperial Command Center, where the officers that allowed Andor to escape are being unceremoniously reprimanded for their inept actions. We've seen these sorts of dressing down moments before in Star Wars, but this one has a very obviously personal effect on Imperial Commander Karn. We then cut between Cassian and Vel hiking through the mountains of Adani, and we get a lot of context about why they're here. I love how much this show uses verbal cues as informational plotting without just dumping exposition. The interplay between Imperial overseers is also smartly written, subtext upon subtext as they try and follow the trail of minute clues leading to Andor. You can really feel them discovering that there is more to this than simply finding a fugitive who is wanted for murder. Val introduces the crew to Andor, who is now calling himself Clem, to partial acceptance. Some of them vehemently object to Andor's presence. Some of them welcome an additional hand involved in accomplishing their mission. The next scene has 3 significant emotional beats. Commander Karn looks downtrodden as he carries his suitcases through the winding corridors of a massive apartment block. He arrives at a door, rings the bell, and an elderly woman answers. "Mother," he says. She gasps, then slaps his face, then embraces him in a tearful, sobbing hug. It's a fantastic moment that tells you quite a lot in just 2 seconds of screen time. It's his mother, so obviously she should be glad to see him, but she slaps him across the face, suggesting that he's done something to deserve it. She then hugs him, sobbing, letting us know that she is in fact very, very happy to see him, despite whatever he's done to offend her. I'm guessing she thought he might be dead. This also tells us that despite being an Imperial officer, he has people that love him and care deeply about his well-being. It also suggests a good upbringing, making him a bit more sympathetic than the usual murder drone Imperials we're familiar with. Really great character development in the span of 2 seconds. Back to Coruscant. Luthor is apparently an antiquities trader as well. He welcomes into his gallery none other than Mon Mothma. Seeing her portrayed on screen is a delight, and Genevieve O'Reilly absolutely nails this iteration of the future leader of the rebellion. She meets with Luthor under the pretense of buying antiquities, but is secretly there for information and to press Luthor into adding another rebel to their team. Their interplay is a melange of lore and subterfuge which walks a very fine line between candor and exposition. It walks it very well. Further, this show switches tone on a dime, but doesn't do it for simple emotional effect. It does it to show the humanistic tendencies of even the most stalwart idealist. I cannot stress enough the naturalistic way in which these characters speak to each other. For example, I refer to the next conversation between Mon Mothma and her manservant / husband, whatever. What starts out as playful banter quickly dissolves into bitter tonal ping-pong as she is triggered at the prospect of having dinner with several of her political adversaries. You can really see how much she cares about her ideology, but also why that anti-imperial and anti-capitalist attitude would make her unpopular among her own colleagues. Next, we have a riveting conversation between Andor and the crew, where they describe a festival during which they will attempt their mission, the Eye of Adani, the description of which has me very excited about seeing how the show visualizes this event. The cinematography continues to be very impressive, showing a distinct difference between the polished sheen of the Imperial command centers, the posh interiors of the places of those in power, and the grime-washed gutters of the have-nots. The score by Bear McCreary doesn't have any of the immediately memorable motifs that John Williams is a master of, but it suits the show quite well in its own right. Every single scene of this show oozes substance. My suspension of disbelief is very casually smirking at the fact that I don't have to turn parts of my brain off to try and trick myself into actually enjoying another offering in my beloved Star Wars franchise. Disney, you patron saints of salacious character assassination. You've magically managed to somehow let someone unfuck the Star Wars universe. That someone is Tony Gilroy, and I beg you to keep his cauldron bubbling, because this is the eponymous elixir of storytelling hoodoo that we as fans are sorely in need of.